This is a template we're using for the communications plan. In the first column is a stakeholder. So back in lesson 1 you would have been mapping the stakeholders and should have a clear idea of who they are. So we enter each stakeholder in the cells here. So we might come up with a project team being the first stakeholder, and in the second column we need to consider what key information we want to provide to that stakeholder or what information we want to gain from that stakeholder. Sometimes you may have key messages that you want the stakeholders to know, and perhaps a certain message should be distributed consistently each time. You can record that in these cells. So for example, information that I want to provide to the project team could be the progress, that could be deadlines, changes in the schedule, for example, and information I may want to gain would be any risks or issues that are emerging, and I might want to discuss any technical issues, or maybe even I might want to gain from them some information on progress. The method of communication is how you're going to communicate. So for example, with the project team, we might decide that meetings would be the best form of communication, and then the frequency, we might have weekly team meetings. So with the frequency, if it's a very dynamic and complex project, you might decide to have daily meetings. If it's a very stable project, you might decide to have monthly meetings, for example. So in these columns you're putting in what is relevant to your particular project. Now I've decided to have weekly meetings. We might have them every Monday morning, for example, or you just pick a day that suits your particular team. And then we have a column, who is responsible for developing or organising that communication. So in this instance it's organising a team meeting, and we might say that Jim Hill is responsible for organising the meeting. The last column is who is responsible for distributing or delivering that communication. We might put Sue Jones as a project manager is going to hold or run those team meetings. So with these last two columns you might decide some other headings are more suitable for your project. You can feel free to change those. So considering the project team once again, we might also consider that emails could be appropriate, the frequency as needed maybe, and when to hold them also could be as needed. And if it's a bulk communication, you might assign that to a particular person to develop and or to distribute. Let's look at another stakeholder. Let's say it's the client. So some key informations you might want to provide the client with could be progress, and some key information you need from them could be things like approvals, could be project specific information, whatever may apply to your particular project. Then want to consider the method or the format of communication. So for example, you might be going to give your client some reports, perhaps a monthly report just to tell them how the project's tracking. And you might decide to do that, say your project goes for 3 months, say in June, July and August. Who is responsible for developing those reports? Well, we might make this Sam Smith. And who is responsible for distributing or delivering those reports to the client? Perhaps this could be the project manager again. So with your particular project, you just decide what is most relevant in terms of the communications needs. So with the client, we've picked a report there. You could do a newsletter, you could do emails, all sorts of different types of communications. It's whatever you feel is suitable for your project. So review your list of stakeholders and complete this communication plan to suit those stakeholders. Again, if you do need to adjust anything on the plan, on the template, any titles or anything, you can feel free to do that. And if you need any assistance, just contact your facilitator.